Welcome to the Sacral Chakra Workshop. We are going to speak a lot about emotions today. First, let's feel the energy of the room as I always start. It's good to feel, even if someone is watching this in another moment, it's good to feel the good energy here and to also set the intention. So today we are moving from the safety of the earth, that is the root chakra we spoke last month, to nourishing waters of the sacral chakra. This is the center of your feelings, sensuality, movement, and emotional connection. So let's notice our belly today, your hips, the sensations within, and let's set an intention to honor our feelings. So I'm going to start as always with 2 minutes of, in this case, not silence, but this is a short audio from the Sacral Chakra ball that I recorded, the one I have, the crystal ball. And I also added, because the element of the Sacral Chakra is water, I also added the sound of the water. So if you want to put headphones, if it makes sense for you, or just how you are, feel free to just close your eyes. And as you listen to this audio, imagine your sacral center as a fountain and feel like water moving effortlessly, always finding its way, the flow, the drop, fluid, adaptable, alive. Just allow the sound to guide your breath. And you might also feel any movement in your hips or in your belly, and let the water clean and renew. I'm going to put the audio to play now. And that was 2 minutes. And I always change my voice. I don't know if you felt anything, but I was feeling like moving with the flow. I don't know if you felt something similar, but I was feeling the movement.
Yeah, it was very intense for me. I loved it. Just the water, and I felt it in my stomach area, just like butterflies. Ooh. And it's funny because I kind of identify myself also with water because I rock. I do not sit still. And even when I think I'm sitting still, I still rock myself a little bit. I don't know. So I love this.
Thank you. And it's one of the exercises when we want to stimulate the sacral chakra, we rock the pelvic area. So it might be you naturally or unconsciously stimulating your sacral chakra, when you are doing that rocking. Something else, if you are a water sign, if you are Cancer or I believe Scorpio, and the other one, Aquarius. So if you are one of these signs, it's normal that you really feel very, very connected to water sounds, and they really have a deep impact on yourself. So last month we spoke about the root chakra. In this month, we are traveling now from earth to water, and from solidity to movement, from I exist to I feel. The sacral chakra is about flow, pleasure, creativity, relationship, and both with yourself and with others. Svadhisthana means one's own place. Okay, it's the Sanskrit name. And it means the home of our feelings and desires. So as we spoke, the element is water, and water is both gentle and powerful. It's able to nourish, to cleanse, to shape the world by simply flowing, and it teaches us adaptability, how to move around obstacles rather than get stuck. So we come from the root chakra where we are trying to survive, we just want the basic needs met. And here it's like water in the river. We start bringing this fluidity into our lives. It's important to remember that emotions, just like water, are meant to move. They can be waves, ripples, or even just a gentle mist. To find your natural rhythm, just as a river carves its own unique path through the landscape. And also to honor pleasure as essential. Pleasure is one of the themes of this chakra. To let your feelings move and inform you without judgment or suppression. So when you allow yourself to flow, you create space for connection, for joy, for pleasure. And I always like to go back to the childhood and try to understand where is the phase where this chakra is mostly developed. So in this case, we started with the root chakra that was since the womb until like the first year of birth. And the sacral starts around the 6 months to 2 years old. And it can be influenced before and after, but this is the main age where you are discovering your body's pleasure and pain. You are exploring movement, taste, the world through sensation. You begin emotional communication. It's not just about, I'm hungry, I want food, I want a hug. It's much more than that. You start feeling that your feelings matter. And if emotions are dismissed or ignored, you begin to hide them also. So imagine that you are reaching for a toy and you feel excitement as you grab it for the first time. Or you taste something new and either you smile with delight or you make that face of yucky. Or you cry when you are hungry or uncomfortable. And a caregiver helps you with a gentle hug or the calming voice. Imagine that you are splashing in the bath and you are fascinated by the sound. And I remember my daughter, like, wow, water everywhere, so nice. So all these kind of emotions you feel, they can have a reaction from the caregivers. And you might feel safe and relaxed. Or you might feel like, imagine that you are being told, don't be too sensitive, stop crying. You may begin to hide or question your feelings. You might stop that connection with yourself. So these moments of comfort, delight, curiosity, or even frustration, they begin to shape your emotional landscape and your ability to connect with your feelings and with others. So here the first reflection question is, What is your earliest memory of delight, curiosity, or emotional connection? And we'll be doing the breakout rooms at the end, so you don't have to reply anything now. Feel free to share anything on the chat if you feel like. But I feel at the end, I'm going to bring many questions if you want to take notes or anything. You might like, oh, maybe at 5 I had this experience. I have a client that was sharing this specific situation in school, and that shaped something that she feels today. So it's very common to have a relationship, and that's what we are trying to bring up today. The sacral chakra teaches the language of emotion. Feeling is our body's feedback system, helping us sense what is nourishing or unsafe, joyful or uncomfortable. And when emotions are acknowledged by our caregivers, we learn to trust our feelings. So, for example, when a child cries and the parent says, I see you as sad, come here, let me hold you, the child learns that sadness is okay and comfortable is available. When a toddler's excitement is met with smiles and encouragement, oh, you look so happy, they learn that joy is welcome and safe to express. Or even when a child is allowed, for example, to express fear, anger, frustration, and is gently guided through those feelings, they gain emotional resilience and the tools to handle life's ups and downs. But now imagine that the emotions are shamed or dismissed. They start to disconnect. If a child is told, stop crying, that's nothing to be upset about, they may learn to question or suppress their feelings. Imagine that they are labeled, oh, my daughter or my son is too sensitive or too dramatic. It can make them feel that their emotions are wrong or a burden to others. And if anger or tears are ignored or punished, they might learn to hide those feelings, eventually losing touch with what they truly feel. So over time, these repeated responses shape how freely they and we express ourselves, how deeply we connect with others, and how safe we feel to be authentic with others and with ourselves. So I keep moving. If you have any question, feel free to share, but I'll keep moving. And maybe at the end, we can also bring more things up. But feel free to share anything. If this is touching you in some way, or you have an example, share, because we learn so much with other people's stories and sharing. So feel free to share if you feel like.
It's very interesting that we're doing this because this is a problem that I have exactly, is more or less stuffing my emotions and not letting them out. And for the most part, I always thought that as a child that I was, like you said, if I was happy or sad or something, that my mother was usually the one that would console me or whatever. However, on the opposite end, my father was just the opposite. And so I was pretty much, as it stated over there, shamed or said, you know, quit crying or I'll give you something to cry about or something like that. So this is really making a lot of sense as far as where I'm disconnected, that I thought that I wasn't.
Thank you so much for sharing. And it's important to acknowledge that just because you're a father or a teacher, right, in the school, there's also a lot of limitations. Just because someone told you, why are you too dramatic? Or you're just crying too much. Just because someone said that, it doesn't mean that it was the reality or that it was something from you. That might be a reflection of what they are or what they were suppressing on themselves. So maybe your father was suppressed so much when he was a child that the reaction was suppressing the next children that would come up, and it's just
Yes.
a heart there.
Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you for that. That is very interesting.
So not only acknowledging and being aware, but having tools to now work on that. And I'm going to share that in a few moments. I'm going to share first the causes of blockages, because we want to first identify even more possibilities, and maybe it will resonate with a lot of people. And when we go to blockages, for example, the first one, denial or shaming of emotions. Imagine that a child is told, stop crying, you're being silly, whenever they get upset. Or even a teenager is scolded for expressing anger or excitement, learning to keep feelings inside. So this has a huge impact. The second says chaotic, unpredictable, or emotionally cold environments. So imagine that you grow up in a home with frequent arguments, sudden changes, or silent tension. A child never knows what to expect, right? Imagine a father that closes himself in the bedroom and gives kind of the silent treatment. Or parents that are physically present but rarely offer hugs or comfort or warmth. The child kind of feel emotionally alone, because the touch is important, and we are going to check that later when we speak about cultures. Cultural repression of feeling, touch, sensuality, or sexuality. For example, in some families, affection is rarely shown, and topics like desire or pleasure are taboo. And imagine also a child that is discouraged from exploring their own body, being told that's dirty, creating confusion or shame. So we all have an age for everything, and we should not block from that in the right age. The last one says guilt around pleasure or desire. So imagine that someone feels guilty for enjoying good food or fun or intimacy, believing that they don't deserve pleasure, and this is very common. Or after laughing or playing, a child is told to calm down and be serious, and she associates fun with guilt. So when feelings are suppressed in these ways, emotional energy often gets stuck or finds unhealthy outlets, like addictive behaviors, emotional numbness, or seeking pleasure in ways that aren't nourishing. Can you guess what is the biggest challenge in this chakra? Just from this, the biggest challenge on the root chakra was fear. The biggest challenge on the sacral chakra starts with letter G.
Guilt.
Guilt. Yes.
Thank you.
So
a lot of that as well.
So we can identify already, right? The center is about desire, sensuality, and creative life force. Healthy sexuality is fluid, embodied, and guilt-free. Shame or guilt shuts down pleasure and creativity, and many societies label pleasure, emotion, or sexuality as bad or dangerous. And as a consequence, these are cultures with less touch. And if we don't connect with ourselves, we lose balance. If you felt shame for wanting, for feeling, for expressing affection, you are not alone. Guilt is the great staller of energy flow in this chakra. And my question is, what were you taught about your feelings, pleasure, or sexuality growing up? Where do you feel most creative or alive? Where do you feel blocked or ashamed? And it's so much here. I'm going to bring these questions again before the breakout rooms, but it doesn't mean that if when you were a child, imagine that you didn't have, conversations about sexuality, it doesn't mean that you'll be always suppressed. It only means that there is something to be worked here, and that maybe we can bring awareness, and with that awareness, we can heal, and we can really make it right. We are speaking about these cultural messages, and there is a research that I found about body pleasure and the origins of violence. It's from Dr. James Prescott. He's a neuropsychologist and former researcher with the US National Institute of Child Health and Human Development. And according to this research, he says that societies that honor touch and pleasure tend to be less violent and more emotionally healthy. So in a nutshell, Prescott studied how sensory deprivation in early life, particularly lack of touch, affection, or physical pleasure, correlates with later violence and emotional dysfunction in individuals and societies. He noticed that it doesn't just affect individuals, but it ripples outward, creating cultures more prone to conflict. And he compared cultures and found out that the cultures that embraced positive touch, sexuality, and maternal affection had significantly lower rates of violence and mental illness. So his thesis argues that nurturing environments with ample positive touch foster empathy and emotional regulation, reducing violence from the ground up. Keep in mind that even the environments where we grow up, they also help limiting ourselves or not from feeling pleasure, from feeling this flow. So let's go directly to the signs of excess and deficiency. In the excess, when our sacral chakra is imbalanced in an excessive way, we might notice things like overindulgence or seeking pleasure in ways that leave us feeling empty. For example, this could look like emotional overwhelm, frequent mood swings, or turning small issues into big drama. So being overly emotional in a very deep way. And some people might find themselves compulsively seeking sensual experiences like overeating, or having addictive relationships, or chasing intense emotional highs. So these are just a few signs of excessive. There are more that will be shown in a sheet that I'll have in the membership later. But this is just to have an idea. So having this overeating, over emotional, it can be a sign of deficiency. In the opposite way, the deficiency may feel like numb or flat, disconnected from your feelings or desires. Perhaps life feels dull or joyless, and creativity feels blocked, and pleasure is hard to access. So this can also show up as rigid boundaries, avoiding intimacy or affection, or believing that I'm just not an emotional person. And some people say that. But for instance, someone might find it hard to cry, laugh deeply, or enjoy activities that once brought them pleasure. And what is happening is that they are just blocking, closing this sacral chakra. So as a side note, we can have a little bit of both, okay, excessive and deficient. Sometimes people are, for example, too much sexual and very little emotional, or vice versa. The goal here is to really work on ourselves in order to bring balance, okay? The balance is really what will, as a consequence, will allow you to have a flow. And you see that when I speak about balance, but there are still physical symptoms to share first. So the sacral chakra doesn't live just in our energy. It can show up in our body. It's housed in the pelvic area, the hips, the lower belly, the womb, and the lower back. So when it's blocked, we may not only feel rigid, numb, tense in the hips, or disconnected from desire, but we might also have more physical symptoms like the ones that we have here in the slide. Lower back pain, menstrual or reproductive issues, bladder or kidney discomfort, chronic fatigue, or low libido. I had this client one time that she experienced chronic bladder issues, including pain during sexual intimacy. And she was looking for me for a session. And before she even told me that, I was reading the chakras with the tuning forks, and I was stuck in the sacral chakra. It was very interesting because she then revealed in the end of the session that she was a nurse assistant in a maternity ward, and she was supporting women during childbirth. Through the work that we did, we were uncovering deep emotional connections to her own birth and early childhood, and some patterns that had been stored in her body for years. And I know more clients that when they go back to the birth, they find more things that happened and that influence the way they feel today. I'd like to invite you to put your hands very gently on your lower belly. And as you breathe deeply, just ask yourself, what do I feel here right now? And feel free to close your eyes or have your eyes open, just having your hands there, and ask yourself, what do I feel here right now? Can I soften this space just a little bit? Can you feel your belly going up and down? Can you feel the connection with your breathing? It's so interesting because most of the times we think that our emotions are in our hearts. And I'm not saying that they are not, but there are so many emotions stored here in the lower belly. What would it be like to feel safe, to enjoy pleasure and presence in my body? And let your body speak. Let your belly soften. Your hands might get hot, maybe. You might feel love, and you might be sending love to that part of your body. If you were a mom before, maybe you have more sensations. Maybe you feel, for example, a lot of gratitude because you were generating lives in that zone in your womb. And gently, you can move your hands and give care to this part of your body. And you can just tell to yourself, whatever emotions are stored here, I'm releasing them. I'm allowing them to release. And I'm giving love to myself. And you just return very gently. Healing the sacral is returning home to your body. And when energy flows freely in this area, we feel open, expressive, alive, and deeply in tune with our body's wisdom. We start to feel safe in our skin again, and we become fluid, just like water, adaptable, soft, yet powerful. Let me know if you want to share anything. I felt my hands getting really, really warm, and I felt a deep sense of gratitude. So signs of balance. Now is the time to share the balance. And when the sacral chakra is balanced, there's a healthy flow of emotional expression. And you can feel and name your emotions without being overwhelmed or shut down. You are able to enjoy sensuality and intimacy in nourishing ways, feeling connected to yourself and others. There is a spark of creative energy and a genuine zest for life. Whether that means dancing, laughing, trying something new, or simply savoring the pleasures of the moment. And you might take a moment to reflect, do you notice any of these patterns, like excessive, deficient, or balanced in your own life? And remember that most of us experience a mix at different times. So the goal is not perfection, okay, but greater awareness and kindness toward ourselves. Especially because some of the practices we do to heal this experience from the past, most of the practices, they are related to kindness, to Ho'oponopono, to compassion. When the sacral chakra is compromised, we feel guilt, shame, but this blocks the flow of energy and it becomes a bigger challenge. If we keep seeing ourselves as wrong in what we punish ourselves for, it's almost like we are constantly self-punishing. So the intention here will be enjoying through the senses more fully. There will be a proper flow in the body that allows for deep pleasure. And this means that you need to give yourself permission to feel. We cannot heal what we cannot feel. I believe this is a quote from an dear Judith. I really love her. I study a lot chakras from her. And I feel this sentence is really, really powerful. We cannot heal what we cannot feel. So you can notice what emotions are easy for you to express. Which ones do you repress or judge? Are there feelings you label as wrong or too much? Your right to feel is sacred. And when we embrace every emotion as information, we reclaim our power. I had a mentor saying, your emotions are your guide. So when your emotion is telling you something, when you feel something, a specific emotion, they are guiding you. They might be guiding you that is not right or that is. So emotions can be our guide. And here there are a few questions like, were emotions allowed in your family? Were you allowed to feel? To openly feel, right? To show your emotions? And which feelings are hardest for you to accept or express? Did you feel that emotions were allowed in your family? Remember that roots don't grow if we don't give them water. That's why in this chakra, we want the energy to flow. So we can nourish the root chakra. We worked on the root chakra last month, and now we want to water it. And as we melt our fixed patterns, we allow flow. So what kind of exercises can we do? And these are just very short, less than 5 minutes exercise that you can do. A body scan is always welcome because where do you feel movement, pleasure, or tension in your belly, hips, or pelvis? You can do a body scan and try to feel, am I feeling movement here? Just like now, we were focused on our belly and you were feeling movement in the glutes, in the leg. It's interesting to receive those signals and try to understand what is this trying to tell me. Butterfly legs. I don't know if you notice, but when you lie on your back, open and close your knees slowly, like a butterfly wing. Notice any release or sensation. So you can do this in a very easy way when you wake up, for example, in the morning. Pelvic rocking, as I was saying earlier today, gently rock your pelvis forward and backward, sitting or lying down, and imagine freeing stuck energy. If you go on YouTube and you search for pelvic rocking, you find so many different exercises. Lie down in a chair, really, really great ones. And hip circles or gentle swaying, move as water would move, slow, fluid, and natural. And let your body show you what it needs. Even it looks so simple, we should work on both emotional and physical. I know that some of you already know my story about my eyes. I used to wear glasses, but I healed my vision. And it was not just emotionally and it was not just physically, it was both. I was doing both exercises physically to stretch, to move my muscles of the eyes. And at the same time, I was doing creative visualization, going to the doctor and seeing well. I was visualizing myself also seeing each time better and doing affirmations like I see well and each time better. And there is also work, because when we don't see well far away, that was my case, there is something regarding the connection with the world that needs to be worked on. So there is always a connection on all sides. And if you can bring these physical exercises, it's really, really worth. It's powerful to have your feelings witnessed. Is there someone in your life who you can share honestly with? Maybe a friend, maybe a mentor, maybe a parent. And practice naming one emotion out loud or in the chat. And you might say, I feel, and just say it out loud. And you can say, I feel angry because I'm thinking about what happened, when I was 2. Or I feel compassive because I really want to heal myself. Or I feel whatever you feel right now. I feel cool just because I feel, I don't know why, but I feel. So name those emotions, and you might also say them out loud. And no story needed, just a feeling. You don't need to justify. Why not just saying, I feel frustrated. I feel frustration. And you don't need to say why. You don't need to explain, to justify your emotion. It's your right to say how you feel. And especially to people that you feel like you want to share that. Imagine that you have a situation with someone. That happens sometimes with my daughter. I wait for the right time and I say, I didn't feel good with this specific attitude. And I always try to reinforce that it's not about her, it's about the action that she took that gave me a specific emotion. What do you feel right now? I feel like crying. So cry, right? So it's really important, I feel, to witness and to feel safe on sharing it. Thank you for sharing that. And I would like the next step, maybe could be journaling, one page, or saying it out loud, whatever works better for any one of you. But write or say out loud emotions that you feel about a specific situation. And that's okay to think about a specific situation and say, I feel frustrated. I feel alone. I feel fear. It's okay to say, it's still here, but I want to heal this. So you witness and then you calm yourself back to the present moment. You don't allow yourself to stay stuck in the past. You go there and you return. And you go there and you return, just like the flow. Because if you go there and you stay there in the past, you don't allow yourself to really flow with the situation. So we go there, we think about, for example, my dad. And I think about that situation and I say out loud, oh, I feel so annoyed by this. And then I go back, okay, but I want to heal this. I know that this was just, his reflection from his past, or maybe the education that he had, or maybe the experiences that he had, or maybe what he didn't have when he was a child. And then with that ping pong, you kind of start realizing that, okay, I go there, but I'm also here and I deserve to feel good. What's next on this restoring flow and compassion? Like allowing our feelings to surface and bring compassion to every sensation. Keep in mind that there are no bad emotions, okay? Just energy that wants to move and teach you. You can't always choose what you feel, but you can choose to respond with kindness and curiosity. So if we think that there are no bad emotions, we can go back and feel something about our older brother or our father or our mother or our teacher at school or our neighbor. Or maybe, I don't know anyone here with this situation, but I can know someone outside that has this. Maybe someone that abused in the child, right? So keep in mind there are no bad emotions. There is just feedback. And you use that feedback to choose how you respond to that. So you can choose, I respond with kindness and curiosity, and I try to understand and to heal it one emotion at a time. And this brings us to something bigger. When we heal ourselves, we are healing the world. And the pain stored in the sacral chakra is not just personal, it's ancestral, cultural, and collective. So many of us were taught to suppress our feelings, to fear our sensuality, or to disconnect from the body's wisdom. In this space, my intention today is to come together and rewrite the narrative, okay? Rewrite your story. When one of us heals, we are all healing. And by allowing ourselves to feel, to create, to receive, we open a ripple of healing that touches generations. Most of you here have been in the Inside Timer healing circles I have been doing, right? They are very, very powerful when we come all together to heal the others. So let's honor the stories in our wombs, the emotions in our waters, the power of reclaiming joy. And keep in mind that this is just not your healing. This is, collective healing. When you are healing yourself, you are also healing the previous generations, the story from your past. So I have a challenge for you for this month. I want to invite you this month to notice and welcome your feelings as they arise. And I suggest that you practice one new creative, playful, or sensual act. That can be dance, and you can be dancing in the bathroom by yourself, art, cooking, nature, affection, or just an honest conversation. And journal about any guilt, pleasure, or surprise that emerge. Because feeling guilt is a signal from the sacral chakra. There is a specific emotion to heal there. And the sacral chakra allows flow and creativity. So you might be blocking any river of creativity, any creative river, if you don't address whatever you are feeling. So the meditation is very focused on the sacral, and I'm going to put here the sound of the water. Let me know if you can hear this sound very softly. So you close your eyes and you just take a breath in through your nose and you exhale slowly through your mouth. And you bring your awareness to your lower belly, just below your navel. You place your hands there if you feel comfortable. And you feel that this is the home of your sacral chakra, the center of emotions, pleasure, and creativity. And as you focus your attention in that area, you imagine an orange light glowing in this space. It's warm, it's fluid, just like the sunlight dancing on water. And with every breath, this orange light expands, melting away tension, softening the walls that you have built, and allowing emotions to flow. You are safe to feel. You are safe to enjoy. You are safe to be fully in your body. And now, as you hear the sound of the water, let this light swirl and move like waves. awakening your inner joy, your sensuality, and your creative spark. Drift into that space and let yourself receive this nourishment. And you repeat to yourself, I honor my emotions. I am open to pleasure and joy. I allow myself to feel fully and freely. Keep listening to the water. Allow a few more breaths if you want. You can care your belly with your hands. And gently, when you feel ready, you bring your attention to the room where you are. You return to the moment now. You gently open your eyes. You come back here. These are some of the affirmations I used. And we go into the breakout rooms.